Hey everybody, and welcome to another video, and once again my mic is over there. You gotta excuse me because I'm still a little bit sick, so my nose is fully congested, so every once in a while I will have to take a breather because we aren't in perfect shape at the moment. But so, I have created a new setup. Let's do the first video in this particular setup. So I realized last night that I still have to film my TBR card update because the 1st of October has passed, and that means that I have to update you guys every 3 months. I give an update. I hope that this is the final update because I hope that in 3 months time the number will be 0. But so yeah, at the beginning of October I had 17 books left on the card. I actually have 16 on the card and one ebook that is currently counting for my TBR. So I'm gonna go through these, no particular order, just the way that they're on the card so that it's just easier that way for me. But so, without further ado, let's just dive in. So let's just start off with the ebook. I tend to start off with the ebook just to avoid me forgetting about it later on in the video. So the ebook that I currently have is Kushiel's Mercy by Jacqueline Carey. This is the third book in the second trilogy. The Kushiel universe consists of 3 trilogies, and considering how the second one at least is linked to the first one, I cannot really talk about this particular trilogy, but let me talk about the first one. So the Fedra trilogy starts off with a young woman who has been brought up in a pleasure house and who has been adopted by a guy who's basically training her in the art of kind of gathering information in order to help him spy on the big players in the realm in order for him to kind of scheme his way into certain plots. However, third of the way in, disaster strikes and the story develops from there. I like these books a whole lot. I wouldn't be reading the 6th book in the series if it weren't the case. They tend to really grip me about a third of the way in, and that has also just happened with this latest installment of the series, and so I'm very eager to keep on reading in it, and maybe by the time that this video is out there I have actually already finished this one. Let's hope so. But so, let's move on to the physical ones. Let me take these 3 paperbacks here with me first. So the first one that I have here is Between Dragons and Between Dragons and Their Wrath by Devin Madsen. This is the first book in a new trilogy. I have not yet read a Devin Madsen before, so this will be my introduction into his writing. Words, guys, I'm struggling here a little bit. But so in this one we are looking at 3 protagonists, but so far I've read the first 2, so I actually only really remember about the first one. The first one is kind of an unlikely girl is chosen to kind of be trained up to try and fight for the the possibility to enter into like a really advantageous political marriage. The 2 others, one is an alchemist, like she works for an alchemist, and it gets like strange new powers in the process. And the third one is like a dragon rider who and the third one is like a dragon rider who is being hunted. So no real information so far. Cannot even tell you so far whether I am like vibing with this or not. I'm not that far along into it, and I would need more time to make up my mind about it. Next we have The 5, The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. This is a non-fiction. It is well known in the bookish sphere. A whole ton of people have been reading this one and have really gotten along very well with it. I wanted to pick it up the last time I was in the UK, but then it wasn't in stock, but now it was in stock. So even though by now I was like, yeah, it wasn't meant to be and I can wait until I get to 0 TBR, the fact that it was there made me go like, you know what, this is meant to be, let's pick it up. Next up we have Disobedient by Elizabeth Freemantle. This is a historical fiction about Artemisia Gentileschi, who is a 17th century Italian female painter. She is the first female painter to make it into the Accademia in Florence. She had a tumultuous life to some extent, but what I mainly enjoy about this book is that it gives us the opportunity to look at a character who is really upsetting the image that her contemporaries have of what a woman is and what a woman should be doing, and especially what a woman shouldn't be doing. Let's go through the paperbacks, because I still have another paperback hiding here in the back. So final paperback that I have one. Good thing that I'm refilming, because I forgot one. One is in my bedroom, so I won't even go and grab it, but I will talk about it now. Might as well. So I have Timeline by Michael Crichton. This and the other book that I currently have on my lap are books that I bought for like €1 in a library sale, which is why I thought of it when I saw this book now. But so Timeline by Michael Crichton is a time travel story. That's more or less all that I know of it so far. It seems to be dealing with a time travel back into like a past period in the history of France. And then the one that I currently have on my lap is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. Otessa Moshfegh is one of those authors that I've been meaning to give a go, and so finding it in the library for €1, I was like, okay, I have to have it now. This is a book about a woman who basically self-medicates or finds a healthcare provider who is willing to prescribe her enough medication for her to basically more or less be drugged out the entire year, is what I think this is about. So having to deal with depression and the mental health service, so we'll see. So all the rest on this shelf, all the 12 remaining books, are hardcovers. I think, thematically speaking, let's maybe just go through all of the Illumicrates next, because I do have quite a few Illumicrates on here as well. So I have 4 Illumicrate books left on my shelves. The oldest one of these is from December 2023, which is the oldest books currently still left on my TBR, and that is The Principle of Moments by Esme G. Pearson. I am quite far along into this one. I have like 170 pages left to go in this one. This is a sci-fi, and in this one we are kind of looking at sort of like prophesied figures returning into history. And so the first character that we have is a time traveler who basically has this condition that means that if he travels through time, he kind of loses parts of himself. However, his father cats. New location, but still cats. Fun. Yes. So his father basically left him at some point in time, and so since then he's been traveling through time to try and find his father. But at the beginning of the book he is finally given up and he's returned to 17th, 18th, 19th I think century London, because there he has basically left behind an infatuated crown prince to England, and he's making his way back to him. The second character that we're following is a young girl who is basically living on a planet where humans are subservient to aliens, and they are basically just like, they're basically treated as more or less slaves. One day she returns home, finds her mother there with somebody unknown, and finds out that she actually has a sister whose presence has always been hidden from her throughout her life, and things evolve from there. Then we have, I think, the March Illumicrate, which is Fathom Folk by Eliza Chan. I find it very difficult to explain this one. We basically have a sort of like world where you have underwater people and then you have those above the water. Underwater people are finding it more and more difficult to sustain their life over there, so more and more of them are making their way above the surface, but there they are living very daunting lives because the upper worlders very much look down upon the underwater people. We are following a few characters in this one, and I have to say that this one has not grabbed my attention. This is probably the book on my TBR that I'm least getting along with, and it is also one that I've already soft DNF'd in the past, so we'll have to see if I end up getting through it in the end. Then we have the August Illumicrate, Mistress of Lies by K.M. Enright. This is a Illumicrate that I was actually intending to skip, but I forgot to do so. But I'm actually happy in this case that I didn't do so, because this one is turning out to be surprisingly fun, because I assumed that this was not going to be for me, but so far it is working. So this is a vampire story in which we're looking at mainly two characters. One is the daughter of sort of like her vampirical household. She has just killed off her father, and so now she becomes the head of the household, and it'll be about her scheming throughout vampirical society. She is made aware of the identity of our second character, Isaac, who is a human who has basically been trying to hide his identity, like kind of linger in the shadows because he doesn't want to draw attention, because apparently he is immune to vampirical powers, which is a little bit of a problem, and will mean that people will try to take advantage of him. And then the final Illumicrate book that I have is A Dark and Drowning Tides by Alison Saft. This is the September Illumicrate. This is a dark academia fantasy, I do still believe. And I keep on forgetting what this book is about, except for the fact that there is a murder. There is like an expedition, and then there is a murder mystery plot involved with that, where like the leader of the expedition or something is killed on the ship sailing away. And so, yeah, I don't like murder mystery plots. I am lukewarm about dark academia. I haven't read enough to know whether I would like that or not, but like I haven't read any that made me go like, ooh, this is the genre for me, so who knows. Do we have other sort of like links between these books? We have two sequels that I cannot dive into yet. So I'm currently rereading the first book, and in the case of the second series, even the first two books, in order to be able to dive into these ones. The first series is The Immortal Longings is the first book. I don't actually know what the series is called, by Chloe Gong. Immortal Longings is a book in which we have, it's basically sold as a Cleopatra and Antony retelling, but basically we have this one princess who people think that she is dead. She has killed off like the entire royal family except for the emperor, and people think that she was killed in the process. However, she wasn't, and so she is on the path of revenge. However, she's the emperor basically has been going into hiding ever since that moment, and so she is entering into a big competition that is held within the city every year, because at the end of that, whoever is victorious gets to share the stage with the emperor. So she plans to win the competition in order to kill him at that point in time. This book contains body hopping, so there is the power to hop into another body, but that of course encompasses quite a lot of sort of like danger for whoever is involved, because this is not a contest that is held in a sort of like isolated arena. This is a contest held in the streets of the city, and so everybody who is lingering in the city knows that they can be invaded at any point in time, and if you are killed at that moment in time, then of course you lose your soul and your body. So this is a little bit of a gruesome type of contest, definitely, but I ate that first book up. And I'm definitely enjoying my reread of it, even though I haven't gotten that far into my reread yet. And then I just started to reread for this series, and this is the Ending Fire series by Sarah El Arifi, final book called The Ending Fire. And so this is a series of rebellion, basically. We have a society heavily dominated by the color of your blood. You have the embers with red blood, I was going to remember it because they just introduced it, and I was like, okay, I need to remember their names like this, because it works better than to call them the red bloods, the blue bloods, and the and the transparent bloods. But of course, I have forgotten their names. Okay, so the transparent bloods are the ghostings and dusters. Okay, so the emperors, the red bloods, the dusters, the blue bloods, and then the lowest of the low are the ghostings, the transparent bloods. And so our protagonist is a young girl who, when she was a child, she was stolen away. She is actually an ember who was stolen away by dusters in order for them to train her up to infiltrate ember society and change the system from the inside. However, things went wrong with this scheme, and so she's the only one who is left standing, and as a consequence she is basically now just hiding away behind drugs and just like whiling away her time. However, a new opportunity will arise. So I really enjoyed these first two books, so I wanted to definitely reread them before going into the third book in order to give myself the best like setup for success with it. Next, let's go for the one contemporary on here, not a contemporary, she's a historical, and that is There Are Rivers in the Sky by Elif Shafak, a gorgeous edition by the way. Elif Shafak is an author I really enjoy reading from, and so this is a book I cannot sell because this is the only thing I really know about it so far is we have multiple perspectives and the link between them is water. There is more of a link to some extent because at least in two of these, like one perspective that we've had only like a prologue in is from the Assyrian emperor, and then in another perspective we see the arrival of the Assyrian gate guardian statues into the British Museum, but I think in another perspective we also saw something linked to either the British Museum or something else. I might be wrong there because in a few of my books the British Museum all of a sudden was mentioned. But so I don't have much yet on this one in terms of like what the overarching scope is. It's just all linked through water and the cyclical nature of water. But Elif Shafak, I trust in her, plus the writing is amazing. Oh, I have another paperback that I didn't introduce earlier. So this is The Gods Below by Andrea Stewart. This is the first one in a new series of hers. She is best known for the Bone Daughter Emperor series. So in this one we are following two sisters who are basically living in this world that is wrecked by climate change. But there is this one sort of like god who promises to help out. Basically he has the power to kind of like redevelop the land and make the land livable and prosperous again. However, in the process like half of the population will always like pass away, and the half that is left is like changed forever, and he can only do it like section per section. And so one day they wake up and they find out that, you know, this change is about to happen, so they try to make their way into the neighboring land in order to try and avoid this cataclysm. And so we follow these two sisters from there. Next up we have Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Andrew, which is a sort of like horror book, I would say. This is a book dealing with cult, with a creature, and this is basically a story of a woman who returns to her childhood home where her mother had kind of taken her away from there due to something that she had witnessed there, and we are kind of uncovering what happened there like slowly throughout the book, so I also don't have all of the answers to that at this point in time. But she there had spent her childhood like with two other kids. One of them she might have been a little bit more closely bonded with than with the other one, and it's actually this kid that she finds in the basement strung up on a tree when she returns to her childhood home. And there is some implication of this kid having been involved with some sort of sacrifices in order to appease a mysterious creature in the forest. And so since her father has passed away, nobody is now there to kind of pass on these rituals, these practices, in order to keep out the creature. And then I have two left. Let's avoid the fact that I actually do have 4 other books in the series that I have received in the meantime that I'm going to pretend are not on my TBR, okay? So the two that I'm talking about now are part of a Kickstarter that I supported, and they are part of the same sort of like big series, but they are two books in two different trilogies within that series. So this is a series consisting of 3 trilogies, and the idea is that you will read like the first book in each one of these trilogies before going into the second book and before going into the third book. So unlike most of the trilogy, like most series consisting of multiple series, the idea is not to go through it in some sort of a chronological order, and I think even the recommended reading order for like when you read the first books of all of these, I think the recommended reading order is actually to go from most modern era down to the oldest era. I have, of course, not done that. I am reading all my books at the same time, so I've started all 3 of these at the same time, and I have actually finished the second one, but not the first and not the third. So in the chronology, this is the oldest timeline, so Archive of the God Eater, Book 1, Demon by Rob J. Hayes. In this time period, demons kind of control the land, and humans are basically just trying to survive and avoid notice by the demons. So, like for example, they don't use fire because fire kind of attracts the attention of demons. And in the second timeline, we then see kind of like there's implications of our character from the first series having basically like somehow overcome the demons, and as a consequence like the realm basically got, I don't know, saved, and now angels are in control. But in the second series it seems like the control of angels isn't such a perfect thing neither. And then in the third series, which is this one over here, where we have the book Herald, and the series is called Age of the God Eater. So in this particular series, which I'm going to assume will always have the biggest books, or maybe the big book kind of differs between the different stages of each of these series. But so in this one we are even further in the future, and now angels have definitely taken a tumble in people's estimation, and angels are basically kind of hunted, it seems like. And our protagonist is a young girl who one day when she returns home finds her mother in the kitchen talking to an angel, and she kind of has to go on the road with him because it seems like you know, they want to recover angel standings. The very interesting thing about this series is how reading them all like this, rather than having a full story completed first, really makes you question like what happened. How did this come about? Because especially when you're reading them all at the same time, you're confronted with very different attitudes towards certain species. For example, angels. But even not just angels, even the idea about the demons, like there are some revelations coming as well about demons, for example, that once you read that, you start to think very differently about what you've read in that other book in which demons were like the big evil, for example. So this one definitely makes you question sort of like history and our interpretation of history based off of our current information, but also based on like who's currently in control, who's considered the winner, and definitely reinforcing that idea of history is written by the winner, that I love to just examine, for example, in War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. So it's been a very interesting experience reading these 3 together. But so yeah, that was that. Those are all of the books that I'm currently reading for this project. And yeah, as I indicated, I'm kind of hoping that in 3 months' time this will be down to 0, even though now I'm like, 17 books, is that gonna be feasible? Because it's actually more than 17, because as I indicated, I'm rereading a few, so we actually need to add 3 books to that tally. So it would be 20 books in 3 months' time, while I will be off for 2.5 weeks as well, which in principle would be doable if it weren't for the fact that I almost never only read these books. And there is also one book that will still need to be added at least, because there's one book that's on that I pre-ordered that will arrive this month. So here's hoping. That is the goal. The goal is definitely to make it before the end of the year. But if I don't, then the world will still keep on turning, you know. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely let me know which one of these like intrigue you the most and you want to have my opinion on the earliest, or like some sort of a strategy that you want me to use to try and get through them as quickly as possible. If you want to keep on following my journey with these, then definitely know that every Tuesday I have an installment of Every Book All at Once coming out, in which I'm tackling exactly that. I'm tackling all of these books. But so yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and see you guys for the next one. Bye!